Thank you, Chairman. Earlier, we heard a report about the importance of controlling PM 2.5 and the importance of that is in regards to health. And I mentioned that I would make a statement in regards to our dealing with that. And I'm going to request, because of ethical and legal implications related to the December 11th or December 12th, 2008 vote on the truck rule, that the truck rule be set aside until we go through a process of re-looking at the report of the methodology for estimating premature death associated with long-term exposure to fine airborne particulate matter in California. And I wish to read now into the public record a letter that I wrote to Ellen Peters, Chief Counsel, which pretty much outlines the reason why I strongly feel about this. I'm going to read this letter. My review of this letter is dated November 16, 2009. My review of events and circumstances preceding the December 12, 2008 vote on the truck rule has revealed documented facts and pertinent information not brought to the attention of the board prior to the vote on the truck rule. Key CARB personnel knew that the project coordinator of the lead author, the individual, on the report, methodology for estimating premature death associated with long-term exposure to fine airborne particulate matter in California, had misrepresented his credentials by falsely claiming that he had a PhD in statistics from the University of California at Davis. Key CARB personnel failed to inform the full board and the public of this information. In CARB's own internal documents, this information was deemed to be pertinent. CARB, in a communication sent to the individual, stated, in quotes, "Your dishonesty regarding your education has called into question the validity of the report," in quotes, methodology for estimating premature death associated with long-term exposure to fine airborne particulate matter in California, in which you were the project coordinator and lead author. This report in turn supports other controversial and critical regulations adopted by Air Resources Board, end quotes. And there's an exhibit that explains that. The methodology report was pertinent to the truck rule because it supports Appendixes D, health impacts from on-road diesel vehicles, and Appendixes E, health risk assessment methodology, which make the fundamental argument for the reason for rulemaking. This information is material to the vote because had I, as a board member, been informed of this information, I would have, and perhaps other board members would have moved to suspend the vote. I believe that it is the ethical, if not legal, obligation for staff and board members to inform the whole board of all pertinent information prior to a vote on state regulations so that a board member may make an informed decision when casting a vote. The following is a brief outline of information that came to my attention on key CARB personnel prior to the vote. In a letter dated July 7, 2008, sent to Governor Schwarzenegger, Dr. Stanley Young of the National Institute of Statistical Science stated that none of the authors of the draft methodology, in quotes, methodologies for estimating premature death associated with long-term exposure to fine airborne particulate matter in California are professional statisticians. The duty for drafting a response to this inquiry was given to the project coordinator and lead author of the report, the very person who later confesses that he misrepresented his credentials. In this draft, the lead author falsely claims that he has a PhD from the University of California, Davis. This drafted letter, dated November 4th, 2008, was signed by the Secretary of California, EPA, and was sent to Dr. Young. To date, Dr. Young has not received a letter from the Secretary of the California EPA correcting this false claim. On December 3rd and December 4th of 2008, a professor from UCLA communicated with 3 CARB board members alleging that the individual did not have a PhD in statistics from University of California, Davis. At least one board member called senior staff at CARB and an investigation was initiated. On December 8, 2008, the chief of the research division asked the individual if he had a PhD in statistics from UC Davis. The individual on the evening of December 10, 2008, confessed to the chief of the research division that he did not have such a credential. The following day, the ARB had convened to deliberate on the truck rule. At that time, this chief informed the executive officer, the chief deputy executive officer, the deputy executive officer, the chief of the heavy-duty diesel end-use strategies, and the chief of the mobile source control division, the chief of the health and exposure assessment branch, and at least one board member of the individual's confession. This information was not, however, relayed to the full board. It was not until 9 months later that at the public meeting of CARB in Diamond Bar on September 24, 2009, after public testimony raised this issue, that staff informed the board for the first time that the project coordinator and lead author of a supporting document of the truck rule had falsified his credentials. At that time, staff made no mention of the fact that they possessed this information prior to the vote on the truck rule. Last week, November 11, 2009, I learned that the chair of CARB was also aware of this information prior to the vote. Thus, neither the staff nor the board chair informed the full board of this discovery prior to the vote. The public, of course, was also not informed. In a recent personal communication to me from a board member who knew at the time of the vote that this information was withheld, the board member stated, in quotes, "I also realized that it was wrong not to have informed you and other board members about the situation before we acted on the truck rule, and at least given you the chance to decide for yourselves whether a delay was needed," end quotes. As a board member of the California Air Resource Board, I realize the state of California has vested in me the responsibility to review and vote on regulations that may have a significant impact on the economy and the health of the people of California. To execute my duties, it is imperative that I be informed of all pertinent matters relating to regulations upon which I will be voting. Based on the foregoing facts documenting that key CARB personnel withheld pertinent information from the board and the public, I believe that the legitimacy of the vote may be in question. The scientific validity of the report is not the issue, but rather at issue is the fundamental violation of procedure. Failure to reveal this information to the board prior to the vote not only casts doubt on the legitimacy of the truck rule, but upon the legitimacy of CARB itself. And then addressed to counsel, as legal counsel for the board, in view of your wisdom, experience, and knowledge, I seek your opinion in this matter. Not taking action seems unacceptable in light of what appears to be a violation of procedure with both ethical and perhaps legal implications. How we handle this challenge will reflect on our future credibility of CARB. I believe that CARB needs to seize the initiative and take steps to protect and preserve the integrity of CARB, its board members, and decision-making process.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Tellis, and I'll just ask that that be placed on the agenda, an item. I
also would like to put into the public record the exhibits which are related to this statement I just read.
That'll be fine.
Chairman Reardon, Chairman Nichols and I will work with Dr. Tellis on figuring out how best to deal with this.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now,
could I just thank Dr. Tellis for doing that.
The next item